Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gave me heartburn. I was like, I loves it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here. Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we debate the best movies, books, and television shows in the genre fiction realm with our distinguished guests. And that guest tonight is Rachel Harrison, author of Kiss Slay Replay. That's your new one. I'm getting used to it. So Thirsty, Such Sharp Teeth, Black Sheep, and so many other best-selling books. Rachel, we're so glad to have you back on the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I'm like breaking out of the fog of the day and ready to debate.
Hell yeah. It's a good debate to go into after coming through a thick fog.
Exactly.
Very fitting. You should be prepared. And you, of all of us, are the closest to where this film's all taking place out there on the East Coast. So yeah, we're glad to have you here representing the literary realm. We're the usual doofuses representing Fermented Fiction, Clay and Travis Vermolum and Jeremy Hudson. And we're going to do our usual round of personal updates before we get into this debate tonight. Travis, what's new with you?
I had many things I could update on, but I've been obsessed with talking about a movie I watched last night that I'm writing a media article about that we'll post tonight. But if anyone likes devastatingly sad movies, go watch The Iron Claw. Oof. Have you seen it, Rachel?
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, man, it's like I can't shake it. That's why it's my update right now, because like I literally came to the school for work and like said hi to my coworkers and immediately was like, I watched the saddest movie ever. I just launched and they were like, good morning to you too. I was like, I'm so sorry. I just can't. I have to talk about this. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a true story about these five brothers. Yeah, five brothers in a professional wrestling family. And their dad is not a great person and kind of pushes them to do it. And through a lot of series of events, it just ends in immense tragedy. But I do think there's like a nugget of a really delightful heart at the center of it about family. But it's a mix. It's amidst a lot of darkness. But I suggest it if you're okay with very, very sad movies.
I will
very
say,
well made.
the true story is even sadder.
Yeah.
Which is the worst part. You finish the movie and you're like, I'm curious about the reality behind it. And I remember I went on Wikipedia and afterwards I was like, it was worse.
Yeah,
and
there's like a whole nother brother that they just don't include.
They were like, we couldn't fit
probably
in.
for the best.
And there's just so many more layers of the tragedy that they just completely were like, we can't put this in there. So usually you watch a movie that's based on a true story and you're like, they took a lot of dramatic license. But they had to like cut out some of the stuff. And it was so bleak. And then you find out it's even worse. Yeah. And you just need to stare at it. It's beautifully acted and it is a good movie. But I understand that like it's hard to shake.
Yeah, Zac Efron acts his ass off.
He does that. He does that.
Yeah. Iron Claw, I suggest it, but only if you have you can do that. You can take
just set aside like an afternoon to be devastated.
Yeah. And don't pretty much.
Yeah. Maybe an extra emergency.
You need a
session
good
with your
cry.
therapist.
I made it to the end. I was like, I kept thinking, oh, this is the one that's gonna make me cry. And then the last like 10 minutes, I was just like it was rough. So that's my personal update. Can't shake a movie.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's the sign of good art at the same time, right there. And telling those tragic stories is just as important as telling happy ones. It's all part of the human experience. But yeah, gird thy loins if you're gonna go in there and try to endure Zac Efron just making you super sad.
Ironclaw.
Jeremy,
Right.
what's up with you?
Here I am. Well, for our regular viewers, I am updating about what seems to be an ongoing sort of mini arc of fermented fiction that I like to call "Man, I fucked up my ankle." But today,
The saga continues.
yeah, the saga continues. Me getting my stitches out. So, woo, that happened today. And we're
Nice.
feeling good about it. By we, I mean me. It was the royal we all along.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your ankle continues to unfuck itself, and for that, we're all very happy. Are you walking around a lot better and everything now?
Oh yeah, I'm out of the boot, no
Nice.
crutches, walking like a mostly normal guy. No
Nice.
one would ever suspect it.
As close to that kind of a guy that you could ever be, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm coming close to that kind of walk. Everybody knows that's not what I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. It goes deeper than that, and they can all feel the energy. We all feel the energy when we're in the same room here. But that's what we love about you, buddy. That's why we love having you on the show, and I'm glad your ankle's healing up. My personal update. I had one, and Travis says, yeah, thanks for the assist, bruh.
Yep.
I had one, and I'm now totally drawing a blank on it, so I'm just going to do a different one, which is that I'm really excited because I saw something yesterday, which is a big billboard advertisement for the Fermented Fiction live show right outside the Field and Events Hall in Port Angeles, because we're doing that for SquatchCon, the second weekend of April, and it's officially now on the Field Hall billboard, which is really exciting. That's the first time I've ever seen us on a billboard in real life.
Oh God.
And I didn't know that was even going to be happening. I frankly didn't think we warranted a billboard, but apparently the Field and Events Hall thinks differently. So, shout out to us. Our first billboard, everybody. It's happened. It's for real.
Hey, way to go, everyone. We
That's
did it.
awesome. Cheers.
Thanks, Rachel. And
like
shout out
Saul
to
Goodman.
What's that? Yeah, we're like Saul Goodman.
I feel like Saul Goodman.
Exactly.
Someday we'll be
like
on
that,
bus
yes.
benches too. Then we'll really have made it. Bus benches and matchbooks.
Cigarette matchbooks, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Ooh, yes.
I mean, honestly, handing those out at StokerCon would probably be pretty good advertising because, the smoking session at StokerCon is basically the guest list of the show. I'm not talking about anyone specific, Sam Rebel.
No one.
Yeah, we're certainly not.
We'd never out people like that.
No,
We
no,
wouldn't.
absolutely not. Would we, Rachel? Rachel, you're back on the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. How are you? What's new? I see you got a new book coming out. Can you tell us something about that? Tell us a little about what's going on with you and what you're excited about these days.
Yeah, so I have a new book out this fall. It's a time loop horror novel. And so I'm just sort of like, this time of year is always like my quiet time because I'm working on the next book, the book that's coming out after. So I'm like kind of in like a cozy drafting phase. And then I like this time of year because it's a bit more chill. Like the second half of the year is all like promo and hitting the road and all that thing and all of that. So I'm trying to like not overbook myself, take everything slow and, read and cozy up. It's been like brutally cold on the East Coast and snowy, so hasn't been too hard. The weather's been nasty, but it's kind of good because now I have excuses to stay inside.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you are, it seems, crazy busy, so I'm glad you're getting some time to unwind. And very thankful that despite not booking a whole bunch of stuff right now, you took the time to book this. So thank you so much for being here, seriously.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, and you are here for a reason, after all. Let's get to it. This is Fermented Fiction. That means we're going to debate a movie, a book, or a show. And that movie tonight is The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers, his second film, shot in 2019, or released in 2019, maybe shot earlier than that, probably. But it is his second film, and boy, is it a film. If you've never seen The Lighthouse, we are going to spoil it. So if you don't want us to do that for you, then go away and come back later. This will be on YouTube. It will be on our Patreon. It will be all over the place. You can watch it later. If you don't care, please stick around because it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, The Lighthouse, quick summary. We've got a guy who shows up at a lighthouse rock, out in the middle of a tumultuous sea, and he's ready to do a stint working the lighthouse. If you don't know what that entails, it pretty much means being marooned on a very desolate rock, tending a lighthouse station that is battered by wind and rain and storms pretty much constantly. And he's got one other companion there, a grizzled old wickie, which is the term for being a lighthouse keeper, who's been out there for... We don't know. We don't know how long. We can assume as long as lighthouses have existed. Willem Dafoe's character, Tom, has been on this lighthouse rock. The other Tom, who is under the guise of Ephraim Winslow earlier in the film, shows up to work, and he immediately gets to it. Older Tom, Willem Dafoe's Tom, is a hard-ass lighthouse keeper, has been doing it a long time, has no room for any talk back, no room for any slacking, and he's the only one who gets to keep the light. So, Ephraim, of course, wants to keep the light. And we have a lot of conflict going on between the two. We got lots of drinking, lots of singing Irish sea shanties, lots of mermaids and octopus tentacles and all kinds of other shit. And we're going to get to all of it.
It's also in the 1890s, New England.
Sure.
Yes.
And Robert Eggers being who he is, the language is accurate to the time. So
Yes.
That's an important element of the movie, I think.
It's an important element of any Eggers film. The dialect, he's always very, very, very particular about the dialect. Example, when he was filming The Norseman, he actually wanted to do it all in Old Norse, and they just literally wouldn't let him. They were like, no, that's ridiculous. And he was like, fine. So it's in like old ass English. But in The Lighthouse, he was able to take a very authentic tilt at it. And maybe you brought it up in the fun facts, Travis, but he had a couple very specific accents that he was very, very involved in making sure they were correct. That, among other things, this movie has lots of elements like that. We're going to get into it, though, before we reveal any more and accidentally say what we might think, because at Fermented Fiction, that's not how the debate works. We're going to roll 2 D20s. High roll will defend, low roll will attack the lighthouse, regardless of what anyone actually thinks. Rachel Harrison is here to represent the larger literary realm, and I am going to represent Fermented Fiction tonight. So, we're going to roll our dice. Where did I put mine?
We may never know.
Oh, here it is.
You want to roll? Oh,
Do it.
Rolling for Rachel. What'd you get, Clay?
Foe.
19.
Gosh.
So what am I doing again?
You like The
arguing
Lighthouse.
I
for
liked it.
You
Yeah.
loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I loved it.
Great movie.
Okay. All right, Jeremy, get out of here.
Getting out of here. Yeah, dude.
And I'm going to stay on here for just a second while I set you guys up. Make sure it's a clean fight or not.
Do I start?
You are going to start. We have 10 minutes for both of you. You share the 10 minutes. No filibustering. We don't want any of that here. So be kind, but also brutal. Just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, this. And I was going to say
Two Toms.
this movie, but yeah,
The two Toms.
kind but brutal. All right, your 10 minutes starts in 3, 2, 1, begin.
So it's a visually stunning film. I think the cinematography is exceptional. I love that it's in black and white. I love that it's a contained story. There aren't a lot of original screenplays being produced right now, and everything feels like it has to be big budget. And I think it's a feat to have a film like this that doesn't rely on any gimmicks. It's just two people and two very strong performances. I feel like both actors, you can feel that they're having fun I think there's a sense of humor about the film, even though it's dark and quirky. I think, yeah, exceptional performances. It's original, and I think the set is incredible as well. And I know they built the sets, and the set feels very lived in. And the use of the foghorn, I think, is extremely effective in the film.
Yeah, I agree with all those things. And that is where the good things about this movie end, because the story in this movie is just absolute trash and utterly bananas. This film is so far up its own ass that it's no wonder it was shot in black and white. That's the only way they could really get the environment right. This is what the inside of Robert Eggers' ass looks like, everybody. It is in that narrow aspect ratio. It is black in there. It is dark. It is too dark to watch at times. And I feel like this is what happens when a man like Robert Eggers, who is so clearly broken and sad inside, tries to be funny. This is what you get. You get this weird ass, twisted ass movie that has an over convoluted plot. And this is also what happens when you make a movie like The Witch, which was very good, and kind of get a free pass to do whatever you want with your second movie. And then you have to go all fucking art house with it. So art house that it's like impossible to watch. Go ahead, Rachel.
I don't think it's impossible to watch. I think you can't match the movie's freak. I think the movie is for freaks and for weirdos. And there aren't enough movies these days for freaks and weirdos. There's nowhere for them to go. And I think I would rather somebody getting carte blanche to make whatever second film they want make this movie than go on to make a fucking Marvel movie.
Okay, that's fair. I would rather that this movie went to that Lighthouse Island with all of Robert Eggers' other subsequent ideas. I mean, The Northman is also a piece of shit. And you can see that this is his trajectory now. This is his career trajectory. And he did not get back on track to make a decent movie until what? He had to remake Nosferatu. And then, yeah, sure, he's brought some heat to that movie, but he's never going to get back to his peak, which was The Witch. He's never going to get anywhere close.
We're not talking about those films. We're only talking about
We are talking about the Lighthouse. I just don't have much to say good about it because it's such a pile of garbage. Like, what is there to like about this? This is a masturbatory fantasy. We've got all the stereotypical like sea shanty kind of mythology here mixed in. There's nothing original and nothing fresh about it. It's all the stuff you would expect.
I disagree. I do think it's original and I do think it's fresh. I think it's very weird, and I think it's a fever dream. And if this were a literary short story, people would be obsessed with it. But I think because they wanted a horror movie, because they wanted something very specific, and this doesn't fit into a neat box, people struggle with it. But if you come to it and just let it be what it is, I think it's an experience, and it makes you feel things and have sort of primal reactions. And I think that's what the movie is trying to do, because there's a lot of like allusions to sex and like phallic imagery. And I think that it's saying something about masculinity and saying something about perhaps male loneliness. But it's a movie that makes you think. And there's not enough films right now that make you think. And we're in a literacy crisis in our country. So I really respect a movie that makes me sit and think.
Yeah, I guess so. To me, somebody who has worked in indie film for like a decent amount of time at this point, this does fit in a box for me. This fits in the box of art house douchebaggery, where you can put everybody's like pretentious ass film that they've had in their drawer and have not been able to fund and have not been able to get people to back and have not been able to get people to support because they know it's going to turn out like this. It's going to turn out a jumbled, cluttered mess of like all of your film school pretensions that have now like materialized because you finally have the actual budget to pull it off, and that's what this movie is. It's just a whole bunch of that slop. Robert Eggers just spewing it into our face like Willem Dafoe from the top of the fucking lighthouse onto poor Robert Pattison. And he can't do anything about it because he just is a lackey, and so are we when we're sucked into this movie.
I think both actors fully commit. I think if in the hands of a lesser director, I think it would be slap, but I think the artistry of the shots, the artistry of which sound is used, and like again, the use of the foghorn is very unsettling and very strategic. And I think that this movie was very carefully made. And I think the performances are spectacular and they're fully committed. And I think the specificity of the accents and the like how unsettling the movie is really special because it's not easy to make people have visceral reactions without like pure shock value. And I don't think that this film takes cheap shots. There are some things that are shocking, but I don't think it's done in a cheap or gaudy way.
I guess I don't agree because I feel like the metaphor is slapping me in the face the entire movie. Like the performances are so over the top that like Robert Eggers doesn't trust his audience enough to figure out what his message is. He has to beat us over the head with it with these over dramatic, like Shakespearean style Willem Dafoe monologues, just blasting us in the face with it. Like it's high tide and those waves crash against the shore. It's just like the same kind of thing. And then Robert Pattison is like the most transparent. He plays the most transparent character throughout the film too. Like we all know he's a piece of shit. We all know he's on the run. He shows up and they act as if it's dismissed. Like Willem Dafoe's character dismisses it time and again, but really he's not because he's also asking that question. And I just like, I can't not see how like plainly it's written on the page. It's all tell, no show.
But I think there's something about the starkness of the story and the starkness of the backdrop that works. And I like that the performances are over the top. I think that's what makes it exciting to watch. If they were nuanced, like, I do think the performances are nuanced. If they were quiet performances, I think the movie would be boring. I think that there's something unsettling and jarring about every time they appear on screen, you do not know what they're going to do or how they're going to do it or how they're going to like, if they're going to get along, if they're going to hate each other. And there's like something very like thrilling about that experience of not knowing and the tension there because the characters don't know what they're getting either. And I think there's a definite feeling of isolation, but it's two people on screen and I don't know how long the movie is. It's not short. I mean, it's not very long. It's not short, but
it's like 2 hours.
I think it's compelling from start to finish. And you want to know what's going to happen and what the conclusion is going to be. And I think that there's a level of investment and empathy that Robert Pattinson is able to get. I don't know if it's because he's Robert Pattinson, even though he's weird in everything that he's in. But I think from the first time we meet him, we're on his side. And no matter what he does, I think we're invested in that story from start to finish.
I don't know. I felt like I did know what was going to happen every time they entered a room together, and that was they're going to get drunk and start yelling at each other. I will admit there's a level of compelling nature to the story in that, but it's not compelling in a way that I want to watch like a good football game. It's compelling like when you see a guy at the end of the bar just housing shots and you're like, is that guy going to drive? That guy shouldn't drive. And you just are a little morbidly curious to see if that guy's going to get in a fight later, or if he's going to fall over on his face, or if he's going to drunk dial somebody and start screaming at the top of his lungs or say something terrible to the bartender. Like, it's kind of like watching a train wreck. That's at least how it feels to me. So I guess there's a level of entertainment to it, but it's more like that morbid curiosity, morbid fascination of like, how can a movie be this fucked up for this long and still be like kind of dull?
I don't find it dull. I think it's intentionally quiet.
Good line to end on, Rachel. Good line to end on. That's
There we
a
go.
timer. Very good fight.
Perfect.
All right. We are going to express our actual opinions, and I know that Clayton is in deep pain right now because I know how he actually feels about this movie.
It hurts so bad.
Walking off.
And also, like, man, I'm just gonna spoil for the viewers how Clayton's gonna react because, like, you came out swinging with just going after the Northmen too.
I love the
one-
Northman too.
That one
I'm
hurt.
full of
That
shit.
one hurt me deep down. I love the Northman so much. Anyway, before we do that, we're going to share our drinky drinks, and we're also going to talk about some trivia. So, Jeremy, what are you drinking?
Hey, so I figured best way to go would be a gimlet for this one.
Yeah.
Hey, here's to not having scurvy.
There you go.
There you go.
We did it.
You don't want to
Simple,
have to shove that
efficient.
grass in your mouth and swallow it.
Nah.
Clay.
I've got from our friends at Silver City Brewing down in Bremerton, which I thought was fitting because it's a naval base. It's right there on the Sound, so a very aquatic area. And I saw this guy on the can. So this is called the Magnificent. There's Scotch Ale. And I thought that was fitting for a couple reasons. A, look at that guy.
Oh,
Living
He's
his
a big
best
seal.
life.
Yeah.
He's on a
Sweet
buoy,
guy.
but kind of looks like a lighthouse. And I guarantee that there's a buoy out there somewhere near that lighthouse station. And then
Probably.
also, a lot of the famous and terrible, of course, lighthouse stories take place in that northern Scottish kind of area, the Welsh Sea, places like that. That's where I believe it was two Welsh wikis. A story about two famous Welsh wikis who both went missing. That this story is partially based on, and then it's partially based on a bunch of short fiction and the like that takes place off the United Kingdom coast in various areas, Algernon, Blackwood, and the like. So I thought the Magnificent Scotch Ale would be a perfect one for this.
Yeah, that's fitting. I am drinking tea. I think it's English breakfast because
Also fitting.
Still no booze. All right. Rachel, what are you drinking?
I'm also drinking. It's fermented though. It's fermented black tea. I was like, because I
There
feel
you
like
go.
last time I didn't drink beer either, so I was like, well, because I don't keep it in my house. So yeah, black tea, fermented black tea. It's good.
Love it.
Nice.
All right.
It's good not to
teas.
keep it in your house. I also don't.
booze.
I have it in my house once a week or twice a week if we have 2 episodes that week, but that's about it.
All right. Now we got some trivia, people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trivia. So if you have any more after my 10, please jump in. But I keep mine to 10 because that's the rules that we created. Willem Defoe and Robert Pattison barely spoke a word to each other the entire time they were on set. They did after months later, after the filming wrapped, have their first real conversation and said they both liked each other very much. But it was weird because they were both too exhausted from the shooting because it was like standard Robert Eggers movie, just physically demanding and terrible. But everyone loves it at the end, but they're cold. The weather was real. So all the storms and all that rain and cold and everything was all real. And Pattinson stayed at a normal hotel with the rest of the film crew, whereas Defoe lived in a fisherman's cottage in solitude. So they didn't stay in the same place. When they were on set, they kind of just did their scenes and then were so exhausted they just went over in their little tents and were recovering from the cold. And so they didn't really actually have a full conversation as just normal humans until several months after shooting wrapped, which is pretty cool. The dream sequence where Wake stands naked, beaming light from his eyes onto Howard and gripping his arm with one of his hands is a reference to the painting Hypnosis by German artist Sascha Snyder from 1904. And if you go look it up, you will see why. I wanted to reference that one because I'm definitely going to ask for opinions on that scene specifically, because every time I watch it, I'm like, how the hell did they light this? It's so impressive. Robert Pattinson's accent is based on a very specific area of Maine farming dialect, while Willem Dafoe's is the jargon of an Atlantic fisherman and sailors of the time. Director Robert Eggers was very precise about the accents and line delivery. He would, for example, give instructions to say the second sentence of your third line 75% faster.
So specific.
So specific. He did Funnily enough, he did kind of go non-perfectly historically accurate for one scene that Willem fought him on, and that was the first dinner scene. Willem didn't want to wear a hat because in his own research, he had found that wearing a hat in the kitchen for a wiki was considered really bad luck. But Robert insisted on it because he wanted Willem's character to come off as sort of authoritative and like waving his position in the face of Robert Pattinson's. So he went with the story on that one rather than the perfect history, but Willem was like, technically this guy wouldn't be wearing a hat right now, which is like the fact that that's even an argument in movies that are there's so many movies that they're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Make it look cool. And they're like, should I wear a hat or not? It is pretty cool. Very loosely based on a real life tragedy from 1801, as Clayton referenced, called the Smalls Lighthouse tragedy, in which two Welsh keepers, both named Thomas, became trapped on their lighthouse station during a storm. When one man died, it is said to have driven the other mad. Other influence were seafaring literary classics by authors Herman Melville, Robert Louis Stevenson, and the supernaturally tinged cosmic horror tales of H.P. Lovecraft, as well as Algernon Blackwood and Sarah Orne Jewett. So lots of inspirations, including one real-life story. One that's not in the IMDb trivia section, but I think this is my sixth, right? Yeah. But I found fascinating is this is the only movie Robert has co-written with his brother, Max.
Mm-hmm.
He's not averse to co-writing, though. He co-wrote not Nosferatu. Yes, Nosferatu. No. I got to look it up again. He co-wrote at least The Northman with Sjorn, I think. And he's going to write Wolfman with the same guy he wrote.
Werewolf.
Werewolf. He's going to co-write with Sjorn again. And I think he co-wrote Nosferatu with someone. I might be wrong, though. But he's done one other. But Max Eggers and him have only worked together once. And Max went on to make his own movie, a directorial debut. I haven't watched it. I've heard very mixed reviews. It's called The Front Room. 10 days before filming was due to start, production company New Regency tried to convince Robert Eggers to shoot on widescreen because the film sets were too beautiful to not be shown on full scale. To which, in my headcanon, Robert responded, "The point, that's not the point." But I don't know. I'm not sure. The scenes with the water pump and the kind of like black tar crap, and like the dead pigeon or
seagull,
that's Hershey's chocolate syrup.
Gross.
Yeah,
less gross than what it was pretending to be, I suppose.
Less gross
by a
than what it
small
was pretending
margin.
to be. Yeah.
By a small margin.
It's a bit less gross than liquefied bird. So
that was 8. Director Robert Eggers. I have 2 facts about farts. Robert Eggers on the fart jokes said, after making The Witch so miserable and self-serious, I thought if I was gonna explore misery again, I want to be able to laugh at it. He also, in another interview that's not referenced here that I watched, someone had just straight up asked him like, why all the farts? And he just had like a straight face and was like, people fart, and moved on. And I thought
it's true.
Great.
Especially when they go to bed. That's when a lot of them boil out to the surface.
And if they're eating a bunch of beans, man, and waking up, like, come on,
and drinking that much vodka or whatever.
Just accept two alcoholics eating beans are going to be farting a lot.
It's going to happen.
It just happens.
It's going to happen.
And then my last fact also about the farts is the sound guy. Okay, so there's I lost the fact on here, but there's like a proof. I'll find it anyway. There's like people who have listened are like, oh, that like they couldn't have done that as a fake something sound effect. It had to be real. And people have asked the sound design person, who I will find his name too and come back to it, how did you make the real fart? And every time his answer is, "I will take that secret to my grave." so
He recorded somebody.
he refuses to tell anybody but like everyone is convinced they are real farts, and no one knows whose real farts they are because they were added post-production, but someone farted into a microphone for this movie a lot.
Nice. I'm
And the
in my head canon.
sound design guy
Doing the
is
Lord's
not
work out
going.
there.
In my head canon, Willem Dafoe still does his own stunts, so I'm gonna stick with that. I'm sticking with that. The one fact I saw on IMDb that I really like that you didn't say, you said a lot of the ones I would have picked as well. I saw that the mermaid statue. So this was right before COVID, when it was released, 2019. The mermaid statue was sold. It was auctioned off to benefit the National Food Bank, and it sold for like $102,000. So that's kind of a cool trinket, and was donated to feeding the hungry during COVID.
Oh, nice. I like that. I found the guy's name. His name is Damien Volpe. That is the sound design man, and I'm looking for this specific wording on the fart fact, and I'll come back to it. Does anyone else have any facts?
I mean, there are
Not
more.
really.
Found it. The audio of Willem Dafoe's farts was added in post-production. They didn't originate in a sound library, meaning they were created practically. Sound designer Damien Volpe stated that he won't reveal how he created the sounds of passing gas, and that he will take this secret to his grave.
Nice.
So.
That's really honoring your NDA.
That's a fancy way of saying like whoever smelt it dealt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. Most of the sound guys I know would have just been like, "Yeah, I farted into a microphone a bunch."
It's true, but that is less fun. That is less fun.
Maybe he didn't want to out like an A-list actor. Is like maybe Robert Pattison.
Both of those actors obviously fart all of the time.
Oh, yeah.
So much.
Like I feel like that they're not hiding anything.
No.
No. And in this movie, farting is far from the least degrading thing they were asked to do.
Yeah. I feel like both would wear it as a badge of honor. So
Absolutely.
They probably would.
Yeah.
So something's happening there with Volpe. I don't know.
I don't know. He's got a
All
secret.
right.
Vicious.
Speaking of something happening, Clayton, you had to attack the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how painful was that, and what do you actually think about this movie?
That was pretty painful. I love this movie. This movie is directly up my alley. I love everything Robert Eggers does. He's my favorite contemporary director, bar none. So, like, I'm sorry, Robert, if you see this totally clipped out of context, that was all bullshit. This is the reality. You are a genius, and I love everything you do, including The Lighthouse. This movie is hilarious. This movie is tense as fuck. This movie has some just A-list acting from start to finish, like Rachel was pointing out. But I mean, I love both of the performances in this movie, specifically Robert Pattison, because when I saw this movie, it was one of the first times I'd seen him. Just me personally, I know he's done lots of stuff, but for me personally, I had seen him in like Twilight and Harry Potter, and then I saw this, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And there's like so many moments in this movie that are just fucking fantastic. I mean, the cooking when they're arguing about his cooking. You're fond of me, lobster, ain't you? That's such a great scene. Him talking about the steak and how he'd fuck a steak if he had it. It was so good, and then. Just like I'm a big fan of little scenes that have like just such a stark realism that they jump off the screen at you. But for me, I've fallen before a lot as a rock climber. And so that scene where he falls is the best falling scene I've seen in a movie ever. It's like one of the most realistic falling scenes I've ever seen. It's like a terrifying moment when you like feel like you're gonna fall, and then when you do, like it happens so quickly that you like hit the ground before you even know it. And his scream is like so realistic, and then it's just counterpointed beautifully by like Willem Dafoe's absolute surety that he's not gonna fall, which is exactly what happens when like someone tells you you're not gonna fall and you think that you are, and then you do. It was a great scene. And there's just so many other ones. The seagull scene, is fantastic. The way he just like batters that freaking seagull against the rocks. It's just like all of his unquieted rage coming out in a single torrent. And that's just the performances. Like, I could rant about this movie forever. I love the filmmaking in it. I agree with you, Rachel. I love the sounds of the machinery, the oppressive blaring of the foghorn at all hours of the night, the eye of the lighthouse that's just kind of always watching. And it has this like mystique and intrigue to it, especially since he's not allowed to go up there. So naturally he's like, but fucking why? Like, why can't I go up there? It says I can in the manual. This is my job. And he just like, all he wants to do is go look at it. And it's a classic example of like how if you tell someone they can't do something, that becomes the most interesting thing to them in the whole world, especially when you're like totally isolated. I also just love this dynamic of like two barfly regulars that like fucking hate each other, but they go to the same bars, so they're just drinking together every night, and like they'll figure out how to like dance, and then they'll fight each other, and then they're laying in each other's laps, like telling each other secrets, and like it's such an awesome like you were saying, Rachel, definitely a commentary on like what male fragility, male loneliness, male isolation can look like, male depression. And this is like two versions of it. You know, it's also two versions of like the romanticized trades, like a wiki. I think that's one of those things that's romanticized, like being a sailor. Like when you get right down to it, it's a hard, dirty, isolated, miserable job in so many ways. But for some reason, we see lighthouses. People love lighthouses. People just like romanticize them naturally. We see them on the coast and we're like, oh, it's so pretty. Look at that. That's so cool. Wouldn't it be cool? Like, tell me you don't see a lighthouse if you're going by on a ferry or a boat and you're like, I want to go into that lighthouse. I just want to go in it. I don't know why. I just do. And like, that's such a natural human response, I feel like. They're also like symbolic and representative of beacons of safety and beacons of you found land. If you've been at sea for a long time, they keep you safe. They guide you home. But the people who have to keep them, the people who have to make sure they function, they have to suffer. Just like so many other like things that our society is built upon. Like for one thing to happen, other people have to suffer for that to be maintained. And I think that this is a really good analysis of those romanticized trades and what they really look like from like two different perspectives. You've got the new guy who's just there to collect a paycheck partly, and then is also there to like hide his past and hide out. And then you have a guy who genuinely fucking loves the sea and just like really kind of like wants to be there. He's a true wiki. Like he says, he's married to the light and she's the best wife he's ever had. And he's out there. I think Willem Dafoe's character genuinely is living that truth. I don't think that makes him a happy man. But you see like the cost of that utter devotion to something, to a trade, to a craft. I think he represents that. And then the other person, it represents coming to it for the wrong reasons, which is to collect that paycheck or to run away from something else. So I think there's so many beautiful layers to this movie. And then it's just fucking hilarious in so many ways. So that's me. I love this movie. Everything I said was bullshit. I'm a fucking liar.
So Rachel, Clayton agrees with your positives, but does Rachel agree with Rachel?
To an extent, I would say. I appreciate the artistry of the film very much, and I really, really appreciate that it is original. I think it would have been easy to make like a horror film, like considering his influences and like to make a studio happy and to like follow the witch trajectory. And I like that he just did something completely different and that it's not like anything that I've seen. It's eccentric. It almost felt like theater to me, like very good theater, compelling theater. So I appreciated that. And I'm glad that I saw it because I hadn't seen it before. I watched it on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm glad I watched it. I appreciate it, but I didn't love it. Like it's not really, I feel like it's the kind of movie where it's like you're either going to love it or I feel like it's going to have, there's a spectrum of like people on either side. And I think for this, I kind of fall in the middle. I'm probably an outlier. I think most people probably love it or hate it. And I liked it, that kind of like up an octave, like, what'd you think? I liked it. Like, so, but I will say, like, when I saw Nosferatu, I walked out of the theater really disappointed because I came in thinking it was going to be one thing and it was something else. And the more I like thought about it, the more I appreciated it for what it was. And I tried to come into this with more of an open mind, but I think there's like, with stories like this, and when you tell stories that kind of don't fit neatly in genre, it's hard to have that immediate, like, again, it's not a Marvel movie, it's not Mission Impossible, like you're not just being like, this is what you came for and here it is. So it requires a little bit more thought. I do think maybe part of the reaction is having gone to film school. And like Clay was saying about like, it's pretentious. He's so far up his own asshole. Like, I think maybe if you go to film school and you've seen some of the like crap. Sorry, I mean, I went to school. I didn't really cross paths with them, but like I went to school. I was at Emerson at the same time as the Daniels. So like not everybody was making crap, but like when you've seen like art house, like some douchebag is like, this movie is saying something and I'm shooting it in black and white. I feel like part of you just sort of like shrivels up and dies inside. So I think there's part of that like I have to sort of let go of when I think about the movie. But like there's always a little bit of that where it's like I'm getting something out of it and I do think it's saying something, but like, is it saying something, or is this guy just like, and I shouldn't say this as I wear a beanie, but like wearing a beanie and drinking black coffee and like thinks he's smarter than me. Like, I think like I'm just like, I have that little bit of personal, we all bring ourselves to the theater. So I think there's a little bit of that personal, like, is this movie, like, I do think the artistry helped me accept the rest of it and be like, no, like there's thought and like, and beauty. And it's just such a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. And it's very original and very fun. And I like really agree about the performances, but yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it. I probably will think about it for a long time, which I think is more important than liking something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do have to say too, the first time I watched it, I felt very much like you, especially coming off The Witch, because that's genuinely one of my just favorite movies, not favorite horror movies. But I mean, I'm wearing my black shirt right now. Only because I did order a shirt with Willem Dafoe's face that says "You're fond of me, lobster, ain't she?" But it didn't get here in time. I'll wear it to StokerCon.
Yeah,
please do.
I will. Don't you worry. But this is the next best I could do. Live deliciously. But I actually felt the same as you the first time I watched it. I was like, it felt a little pretentious, and it kind of felt like that movie you're describing that we've all seen at every film festival. But going back and rewatching it like a year later, I was like, okay, I like this more. And then as I rewatched it for the show, I liked it even more. So it's had that effect on me. I think it also helps that I've seen other Eggers movies now, and so I give him definitely the best. I definitely don't think that's the case, just watching how seriously he takes the craft in general, because I think the main problem with the beanie coffee douchebag that you're describing is that they take themselves more seriously than the craft, and I don't think that Eggers, you can't accuse Eggers of that.
I mean, the farts alone, you gotta...
The farts alone, yeah. He's definitely joking around a little. I think that's in so many spheres too, Rachel. Like, when you immediately said that, I thought about like philosophy and theology, which are like the two things that I focused on academically. I feel
that guy's
like
there too, for sure.
Every kind of like thinking trade has that guy, and I've probably been that guy, like, to be honest, try and be humble. I've probably been that guy in a few conversations and parties that's
Yes.
like,
Me too.
I think what it is when you see movies that are trying to make what is, this maybe is going to be too harsh, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Trying to make what is shallow seem deeper is kind of the sense that I get. Like I don't know. That strikes me as what the Beanie person is doing, is they're trying to put on a facade of depth, even though what they're doing is actually pretty shallow, which there's nothing wrong with just a nice, shallow, entertaining story. But I think what rubs us wrong is when people try and pretend like it's more, even though we can see it with our own eyes, and are like, it's not, though.
And I do think the depth in the Lighthouse is genuine. Like, I do think it, and I say this without rolling my eyes, it's saying something. Like, it has things to say, and it has observations and questions that it's raising, and I think it's artistically valid. So I think I just went into it with my hackles up a little bit because of that, and just thinking, like, is it going to pay off? Like, I just keep wondering, like, are you going to pull the rug out from underneath me? Like, are you going to, like, be like, well, you have to listen to this on vinyl? Like, I just think didn't know, like, where it was going to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's
You're not
funny
watching
too.
this on a projector, you fucking schmuck.
What are you doing? I think I'm the exact, I do not, probably lucky I didn't, probably because I didn't go to film school, I'd like go into these art house films probably like too susceptible. Like, I'm the guy that's like, I'm ready, make me think. And maybe I think sometimes I go into movies and I'm like, that was deep, and then I think about it longer and I'm like, I think I'm making it deep. But anyway,
that's fine too.
It.
You can project onto it all you want.
You can, you're right. We bring ourselves into the art. Jeremy, Indeed. I will shut up and what do you think? What do you think of the Lighthouse?
Well, hey, look, I think that this is probably a great movie to watch with like a group of people. I think it would be a hell of a watch. Like, absolutely incredible. First of all, the performances are great. The cinematography is great. There's so many great moments throughout. Probably especially Thomas and his lobster, and just taking such offense that he absolutely curses the shit out of Robert Pattinson. Just superb. Like, you could not ask for two better people to like carry this film with their performances. And, maybe it's a thing where I need to watch this movie more to peel back the layers, but I find myself wondering, like, is this movie something that can even realistically be spoiled, even if we talk about every single thing that happens in the movie?
No.
Because it's not going to tell anyone what they're in for. Like, the movie never even reveals if there's magic or if Tommy's just like a crazy person. You never know. Hard to say. And part of me does wish that the film had the nerve to commit to Tommy plowing a mermaid and Thomas getting railed by the Kraken in the lighthouse. But then, I don't know.
That is how the movie ends.
There are a lot of powerful feelings here.
Yeah.
And how the movie ends. We see Tommy just naked being eaten by seagulls, and we're like, when was this to have happened?
You got from there to there somehow.
Details.
It happened.
Details.
It happened. Don't worry about it. Just like it happened that Willem Dafoe was chasing Tommy, hog out, and shooting light out of his face.
Yes, he was.
Okay. Now, it led to probably the most incredible shot of the entire film, obviously. But okay.
I don't know how.
It's an experience. And why not? You got to experience it, I think.
I agree. I think it's like, I think it's definitely, if you enjoy movies, I think this has to be on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might
that's-
hate it, but you will experience it, and it will subsequently experience you as well.
That's
Because you're
kind of-
right. Like, there's literally no. There's if you come into this movie like wanting a plot or like answers, you're not going to get no answers from this movie. Like,
Not
you
a
don't
lot.
find out if anything was real, but that's also the entire point. Like, it's one of those, a lot of movies, and again, back to our point of Beanie Coffee vinyl guy. This is like this is this is the movie that so many of those douchebags wish they could fucking make, because they want to make a movie about mental health. They want to make a movie where you don't know if it's real or not. They want to make a movie where their characters' power of their performances just like suck you into the reality of the film and make you not care about all the like semantic, plot oriented, like textbook, you have to do this to make a movie. That's what they all wish they could do. This movie
God,
is
they
what it
want
looks
so
like
bad.
when it's actually done. This is what it looks
I-
like.
And that'll lead into my sort of my brief opinion on it, because I didn't give that. I just talked about the beanie guy.
We know your opinion on him.
I know my yes. I used to be him. Anyway, I think The Lighthouse is the movie they wish they could make, because The Lighthouse is, I feel like every time Eggers gets behind a camera, he's genuinely telling stories about the sort of like East Coast folklore that he just loves. Like, he has a passion for that feeling, that like East Coast, that sea, dark sort of gothic literature vibe. I get this sense that Robert Eggers is just a fanboy about that. And every
yeah.
movie he makes is a love letter to that classic genre. And so the things naturally come out of that love. I think that's the big difference here. And we're going to get into this with the discussion, but like, I think you're right, Clayton. A lot of the beanie guys want to like put the message in, and they try and make it the story. And it feels like Eggers, the message is coming out, but because he's focusing on the story of these two men and his love for that kind of old English folklore. And that's like, all those narratives are going to be in that, because they were in those old stories. I mean, they were in Melville. They were in all the authors I cited earlier. I'm bad with names. Like, those themes were there. And so when he tells those stories genuinely, those themes are going to come out, rather than kind of approaching a thing and being like, I'm going to make sure that we're talking about this message and this message and this message. Okay, man, what's your story? I don't know, like whatever tells that. Like, I don't think Eggers is approaching it the other way. So I really love The Lighthouse for that, because there's very few modern directors I feel I can feel the love behind the camera as much. I mean, there's quite a few good, like Denis Villeneuve is another one, and Christopher Nolan, I think you can feel that with. I could name a lot of guys. Who's the one I just watched? The lady that directed Hamnet, Chloe Zhao.
Yeah.
You can feel the love behind those. So when directors make movies like that, where you can like feel the passion and the involvement with the story that they're telling, I think this natural side effect is all these like beautiful themes that we can expound upon.
Yeah, it brings to mind a Stephen Graham Jones quote that I love. He was asked like how he chooses stories when he's putting together something, and he just says he could tell immediately if a story matters to the author, and that's the thing that's most important to him when he's selecting anything for anything. And I feel like you could tell that these stories matter to Eggers, and that's why they aren't like cookie cutter or done by the book, because the story is bigger than the book, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, this story doesn't follow any story rules. There's no There's no like place. I mean, you could probably break it down from some book or another, but to me, it breaks a lot of the rules and it gets away with it because in its world, the world of the story itself, everything does make sense and everything is consistent. It's consistently insane, but it's consistent.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you think about that, Rachel. Before we go to break, do you have any further thoughts on feelings about The Lighthouse in general?
I agree with everything you said, and I think you nailed it when you're like, that's the movie that those guys want to make, and also that like he's focusing on the story. He's not like sitting there being like, what can I say? He's like, I have an idea, and like, what can I channel through the story? So I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's almost like the story wholly comes first, and everything that comes as a result of the story, whether that be from us, the audience, or from the story itself, is like a fortunate byproduct.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. You know what else is a beautiful thing? Having breaks when you need them. Having a little recharge when your batteries are getting low. And we've been at this an hour already. Hard to believe. Time really does fly when you have awesome guests like Rachel Harrison on the show. Thanks again for being here, Rachel.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks again for being here. Anyone who's listening, we will be back in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to ask everybody to turn off their cameras, turn off their microphones. I'm going to play our break video, and we'll see you on the other side. Goodbye. Hello, Fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know?
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, like romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my God, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then I will say another pro of this movie is their chemistry is hot. And I feel like if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been ugh. Because she says at one point, she's like, oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Fuck. And he's like, and then later when they are kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was 2 lesser actors, I think it would have been an eye roll, felt cheesy, but you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because I mean, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good
So
job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to
Yeah.
step up. You know,
Yeah, dedicate
settle-
that
yeah,
time.
settle
You're willing
twice.
to dedicate that time.
the time, the money, all of it.
Ah, that was so painful. It's one of those painful things
Oh, that
I've
was
done in my
so good.
life.
That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible. Yeah.
Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah,
Thanks for
do
watching, and we are back. We won't be right back. We already are.
We
back officially already.
back. Officially back, and that song is still a bop.
Such a bop.
Touch
Yeah.
bop.
So
All right.
I'm gonna ask that you hear me out while
No.
I say this.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. This movie, I feel about it a lot of the same way I feel about the earlier seasons of Lucifer,
I never watched it.
Me either.
where like, so with Lucifer and like specifically the early seasons of Lucifer where it was still on CBS, and it had like 20 plus episodes a season. It carries you through it because of the main actor's just charisma and presence on screen, even when they're just like solving a regular murder, even though he's the devil.
Sure.
Like, the real actual devil. And like it carries you through that because of the strength of the performance. And this movie does that, but with two charming devils. Yeah.
That's true.
I do think
They
that
are
that's a
charming
pretty
devils.
common theme with network television. Is like they get a lot of time out of just like having charismatic performers and like characters that, like, I watched Suits for like 3 seasons because of the main guy, and then I was like,
impressive.
oh, they're telling the same stories they told for 3 seasons. Just again, I think I'm done with the show. But you know, I got a long ways on the like 2 main guys. Anyway, speaking of other projects that aren't the Lighthouse, I have to ask this because Rachel, we have you on our season 4 break video, and we have you talking about 28 Days Later, and I don't know if we'll get an opportunity again to ask you on air. Maybe we'll have an episode about it, but I just have to know before we talk about the Lighthouse. Since that time, we've had 2 28 years later movies. Have you watched either of them?
Neither. I haven't seen either one.
Oh man, okay.
I was
Okay.
waiting till the second one came out because
The
I was
Golden
like,
Temple?
I feel like it's going to end on a cliffhanger and that's going to piss me off.
Of course.
And then it sounds like that's what happened. And so I was going to wait till the new one came out. And then I was like, I'll wait till it's streaming so I can watch them back to back. And then I just was like, I don't know if I care enough. Like, it's not that I don't. Again, like, I think 28 Days Later is a really important movie, but maybe it's the state of the world where I'm just like, I've had my fill of like apocalypse shit. And
Yeah.
so
That's fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Honestly,
like,
apocalypse movies feel like wish fulfillment at this point.
it's just the same thing. I was telling my husband, I don't know if you guys watched Paradise. We watched the first season, which is very, very good.
Mhm.
It's on Hulu. I really recommend it. And because you haven't seen it, I can't talk about anything else, or else it'll spoil it. But the second season is completely different, and it's like, it's not. Yeah, again, I can't say anything to like not spoil it. You should watch the first season though. It's very good. It's
All right.
kind of a
Just watch the first season and stop.
watch the first season and then like if you've had your fill of apocalypse shit, then move on. It's just the same thing where it's like, can we trust people? Is it okay? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
unless you're doing something like completely different. I have a hard time being like, I want to see more pain and suffering. If it's like pain and suffering, I've already seen.
Yep. Which I will say, 28 years later, the first one isn't doing anything incredibly different other than like some filmmaking techniques. But the Bone Temple, it takes a swing. And it's, I don't know. I have to watch it again. I have no opinion on it because I left the theater and was like, what was that? I have to go back because it's a bonkers movie. So I'd suggest it maybe as a just a like,
when we do the episode.
Yeah,
When
the episode.
Yeah, come
It's
on.
Then I'll
new.
watch them
It's
both, yeah.
I will say in a like you said, in a landscape of movies that are cookie cutter and we've seen them all before. The Bone Temple at least is very original. And
Okay, then I respect
appreciated
that. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, speaking of the Lighthouse now, which is a very original movie, there's a lot of directions I'd like to go. I think I want to get the farts out of the way early. Okay, we've front loaded the fart dialogue.
We have to make sure and address them for sure.
We have to make sure to address the farts. Humor in the darkness. I think this is a movie that does that well. And a big element of that is farts. But really kind of this realism to the characters and how they react to each other. And like Clayton says, like we kind of know these dynamics in a lot of ways. We've seen them in other films. Maybe people have like lived with these people who are the regulars at the bar that hate each other, but don't have any other drinking buddies. So they're like hating each other lovingly somehow. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that play here that make the movie funny, despite it being really disturbing. And I would love to talk about what the elements of the movie are that work and how, as writers, you find that balance between, I'm chuckling, but then the next scene I'm like, terrified and wondering what the hell's going on. Rachel, to you first.
So I think the chemistry between them does a lot for the humor because when it feels safe, it feels like The Odd Couple, where like that kind of like tried and true classic comic dynamic where it's like we're at odds, but like we kind of like each other and like when they're like dancing and laughing, we're laughing. And even like when in the beginning when Thomas like refuses to drink and then he goes and he fills his cup and he's like, and then Willem Dafoe's laughing, like it feels very like physical. And when he falls, like it's physical comedy. It's sort of like, I appreciate there's like this base humor because again, it's such an intellectual film to have that like very like slapstick, like there's nothing more immature than a fart, and I say that lovingly because I think farts are hilarious. Like I have the sense of humor of a 9-year-old boy. Like it gets me every time. So like but I love that juxtaposition of high and low, and I think that it does cut through the misery and the tension, and I think that's so important. And I use a lot, like there's a lot of humor in my work, and I think the way that I approach it, and I think every author and every writer is different as how they approach their work, but especially if you write genre, your characters don't know they're in a genre story. So like if they're just existing, and like how are they existing comfortably in their life? Like what does that look like? And I think not only is the fart funny, like it's the first time he does it and they're like, they show him on screen, he just lets it rip. It's not only funny, but it's showing a level of, it's an effective fart because it's showing that he feels comfortable in this space. It's doing character work. And I think humor does a lot of character work, and like humor can be a coping mechanism, and humor can be like, humor is real and humor is grounded, and it's a grounding force in work. So if you're going to write any kind of story, and you're trying to be serious for the sake of being serious, it's going to feel less realistic.
Yeah.
And I think especially in high tension situations, people use humor all of the time. Like the only time in my life where I was like, I'm in a slasher movie was my best friend got married and she like rented out this house on a hill in Temecula, California. And it's like the middle of nowhere. It was like a 3-mile long driveway, top of a hill. It's me and like 3 other bridesmaids and the groom. And we're up there and all of the lights cut out just as the sun sets, just as all the lights go out. But we could look down and see lights everywhere else. So it was only our house. And like that is a slasher movie setup if I've ever heard it. And immediately we're all just like, who's gonna die first? We ran into like my one friend was in a different room. We're like, the power's out. And she was like sitting in the dark. She's like, yeah, I know. Like we were all just like cracking like, and I was like, we were genuinely freaked out. Like we were like, what's happening? Like, this is scary. Like we're hearing noises, but you joke to cope. And so I think some people have issues with horror and humor, but I don't think horror exists without that humor. So a little aside, but I feel very passionate about that subject.
I think it's a tricky balance too. And I'm sure Clay and Jeremy have a lot to talk about on this, but between the like, I can think of a lot of examples that I won't name because I don't want to trash too many things of movies that are kind of adding that slapstick or like that sarcastic line in this like cynical way of like, we can't sit in a serious moment. So because we don't trust our audience to buy in. And so we're going to like, every serious moment's going to end with a little joke. I think that's become a trend in a lot of things, but that's not what this is doing. And I don't think that's what your stories do. And that seems like a tricky balance to me of like, so maybe a follow-up to you, Rachel, before Clay and Jeremy of like, do you think that is something that it seems like if you go too far into the levity in the serious situations moment, you can almost come off as cynical? And how do you balance that?
I think, again, it depends on the moment. Like, I don't like the pulling the punch of like, and I do think it depends on the scene, because sometimes we have serious moments. Like I know, like if I'm having a serious conversation with a friend, to like cut the tension at the end, like I always like, I'm gonna crack a joke at a funeral. Like that's just like, but I think it can undercut the drama and the tension. But I think you need to know like when it is, and you need to know your character. You need to know all your characters, because like thinking of it, like Richie's gonna crack a joke until he doesn't, and then you know that like shit is serious, and like this is the worst it is. But if it's coming from Richie, it doesn't feel like it's undercutting the tension. It feels like it's in character. So I think a lot of it is knowing your characters and like, and knowing when to set up, like using it as a tool to set up the moments that you actually want your audience or your readers to feel something and to know it's like serious in a way that like, okay, like maybe they were cracking jokes before, but like the minute they don't, your audience is going to feel that absence and they're going to feel like more. So,
Clay?
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, there I am. You already got me.
Yep, I already got you.
Yeah, no, I think Rachel makes all the good points. I think grounding is probably one of the key elements to me, for the first part of your question, for what works in this movie with the humor is it is all based in that sort of grounding effect. I don't feel like most of those jokes were set up to be jokes. I feel like they were set up to be realistic human behaviors or realistic like circumstantial consequences of the actions they were doing, like lowering Robert Pattison on that rickety ass platform and like just having one guy up top with the pulley, like that's a recipe for disaster. And judging by how much Robert Pattison is asked to walk around and do, I'm guessing that rope hasn't been replaced for like fucking 15 years. So of course it's gonna snap, right? Under the weight of like a 6'2" dude who's like 190 pounds or 200 pounds or whatever Robert Pattison weighs.
Or we haven't even mentioned the high winds blowing the shit back in his face.
Right. Oh, I mean, and his scream there. And that, like that, I was about to get to something on the same lines though. The comedy it's deeper than just in the actions too. It's in the editing. Like the editing is part of the joke in both of those instances. And when he falls and he screams, he's like, ah! And then it doesn't like finish his scream, and they cut to him with seagull shit on his face. And then same thing when and literally the next time they do that in the film, he gets shit on his face again. Like it's a theme that continues to happen. He continues to get shit on like throughout the entire film. But those moments are also tied to like darker impending things that are coming. So like when he wakes up, that seagull's like literally pecking at his leg, which later it's trying to rip him out, and it's gonna be doing that literally later in the movie. Seagulls will be anyway, maybe not the same seagull, because we know what happens to that seagull when Robert Pattison finally gets a hold of it. But you've got that, and then you've got brilliant moments. I'm such a sucker for those small moments that just mean so much. They mean so much because they show that realism better than any big moment ever could. You and I talked about this the other day with acting, Travis. But one of my favorite small moments examples I can give from this movie, they're talking about the grass, right? And he like tells his dumb little joke of like, you know how you eat grass without teeth? You shove it in your mouth and you swallow it. And they're both laughing because they're hammered. And then Robert Pattinson's like, I don't know about that. And all of a sudden Willem Dafoe's pissed. And he's like, he's like, oh, you don't, do you? You know? And then it's just like, it's such a perfect, like, that's how those conversations, especially with people who are too drunk, like if you've been around those people, you know that dynamic is so freaking real. Like it can flip that quick. And that's one of the most realistic reactions I've seen of like, I mean, you see people play drunk all the time, and you can always tell when it's really hammy and really fake. But this seemed like two dudes who have actually been housing the amount of vodka that they're shown housing on camera, and like for like that.
I'm not entirely convinced that they hadn't. Like I know that's illegal, and Eggers probably wouldn't break the rules, but they acted well enough that I'm like, maybe they just were hammered.
Maybe they did it with acting.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just incredible actors.
I am quite confident that neither of them needs inebriation to act inebriated, but that was just like, I mean, that was one of the best like drunken moments I've ever seen on camera, honestly. And I could say that like with absolute definitive surety. I have rarely seen someone portray drunk people that effectively, judging by like how many actual drunk people I've been around in my life. That was the realest, like, yeah, that's how quick it can happen. Like 1 minute we're laughing together and the next you're like, well, you fucking me, you don't believe me. And,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Rachel knows what I'm talking about.
I think we all know a little bit.
Yeah, Jeremy knows this too from being around me when I lived in CQ. I was essentially Willem Dafoe. But
that's how I lost a pair of glasses.
That's right. Yep. Jeremy's been punched in the face one time, and it was by me. I wasn't trying to punch Jeremy.
This is
his aim was just terrible.
I think this is the third time this has come up on Fermented Fiction, and we will probably reference it more.
Yeah.
If we're talking about stupidly drunk people, then yeah, probably. This was a good example of that.
It's an important story to tell.
It is. It is, just like the Lighthouse. But I think that's where the humor in this movie is particularly effective, is just in that grounding element, like Rachel already pointed to. I'm nowhere near as funny as Rachel is, so I don't necessarily use a ton of humor in my writing. I do try to, but I just don't think I'm as good at it. And generally in the edits, it gets scrubbed out for more dreary, bleak stuff. And that's funny because I love satire. It's like my favorite. All my favorite movies are satires, but I just haven't really figured out how to write it myself. Perhaps one day I will. So I'm not the person to come to. You should just listen to Rachel's advice because all her books are funny and also dark and twisted. So she's good at that balance. I haven't really found it, to be completely honest.
Yeah. Jeremy?
Well, hey, I'm pretty sure I've said this on this show before, that like humor is just such a realistic part of life. Like it feels weird when it's absent, especially in like really tense settings like horror, drama, whatever. Like humor is just feels so real and relatable, whether it's like the characters finding things funny that actually are funny, not characters laughing at shit and you being like, what? Which, that happens plenty. Or like if they're just doing things that are so like relatable that we find them funny. And I feel like this movie lives in both of those zones very comfortably. Like it helps give like the really tense moments like a much needed emotional context, because like no one is ever in like one single emotional state for their entire life. And like if you try to make it that way, like if a serious movie is just serious beginning to end, it is so easy for that to just be an absolute slog to get through. And like to me it just you have to put things where they make sense to exist. So like like almost half the people I know try to break tension by using humor, or like that's like the easiest way for a lot of people to relate to one another in normal low stakes situations, which are most situations.
But not,
so like so like when things get tense, there's that to compare it against. And like a good rule of thumb for like creating that stuff, I think, like if you think something is funny, one of your characters probably also does.
That's true.
And if not, you can just say they will. They can think it's funny because you told them to, because you are the writer.
A couple points that I want to touch on, and then I'll ask the next question. But from Rachel, I really like that you brought up again, names just leap out of my brain. The character from It, Richie. I really like that you bring up Richie, and the fact that like it's a more serious time when Richie isn't joking anymore, because I've brought this director up in maybe every episode and will continue to. He's probably my favorite right now, Martin McDonagh. I just rewatched Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and he is, I think, the best at this. I think one of the earliest scenes that sticks in my mind from like way too young. My parents let me watch In Bruges.
In Bruges is a perfect movie.
It's so such a good example of this, because Colin Farrell's character is the jester, and like we're laughing at him. He's a buffoon. Like the whole situation is kind of buffoonery. And then there's that scene that I'll never forget where they're sitting on the park bench, and Gleason's character is kind of like continuing to like try and walk him into logic. And he just like stops everything and is like, I shot a little boy. And like the whole scene is like, oh yeah, that's why he's here. like, and we've seen the scene at that point, so we're like, yep, I've been laughing for the last 20 minutes, but yeah, he just straight up killed a child and a priest. And everything flips. So I think you're right, Rachel, that's even more powerful when you like add those moments of levity with especially like one kind of jester character, and then when they're not funny anymore, it's like, oh no, shit's real. I think that's really perfect. And then Jeremy, I think you mentioned a really cool thing of like Clayton and I were just talking about this, how most people do use humor to relieve tension in low stakes situations, but it's like, it's weird to think about how movies and books are pretty much always high stakes situations, or else they wouldn't be stories. Like some of them aren't. I mean, Richard Linklater is a master at just telling mundanity, but yeah, we like see the extremes of life and art because that's what people make art about, which is really interesting. But yeah,
and this movie's that too. It's a good example of that too. I mean, if you look at what actually happens in this movie, barring the fact that if there are actually mermaids or krakens or Poseidon is hanging out, which is like unlikely, right? But we really don't know. Ultimately, what really happens is two people just don't handle their working dynamic and their work-life balance very well. And they're just like drinking too much. But like ultimately, all they do is their job, and their job is pretty mundane. Like shingle the roof, keep up the equipment, swab the deck, grease the light,
Shovel some
like
coal for a while.
shovel coal and dump lye into the cistern. Like it's not crazy circumstances aside from this howling gale that just like encompasses them at all times. And it kind of shows like it doesn't necessarily matter what you're doing. If you're doing it under like a consistently oppressive circumstance, it's gonna wear you down no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And this movie is kind of I mean, I do think few people are better than Eggers at isolation horror, which is why I love him so much, because it's my favorite subgenre. It's what I try to write in, and it's just like, I don't know. I think he's just a master at it, like cutting the characters off from the world in every conceivable way and then seeing how they handle it.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said in your debate, Rachel, or it might not have been on your debate, but your opinion. But you talked about monologues, and Clayton talked about those too in the debate. About, I think Eggers does this well. I'd love to know if you agree that like he does tell a lot. I think people often are like, "Oh, show not tell," but he tells a lot. He's big on exposition, but he does it in a way that I think you nailed it, Rachel. Is very Shakespearean.
I think that was. Did I say
was that Clay? I don't know. Someone said
Clay. I was like, that sounds too smart for me.
Well, I think it is because I'm a huge Shakespeare fan. I think he does do this. He does. Oh, it's what you said is theater. It feels kind of like really good theater. And I'd love to hear more opinions on that. And like, why did you see that dynamic, and what makes it work? Which I know is kind of a broad question, but exposition can really ruin things, but also help them a lot. Even from great filmmakers. Like I'm thinking of what's the guy's name that he made the Haunting of Hill House.
Mike Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan. Yeah, I think he does like this really well sometimes, and then sometimes they like drag a little bit, and there's this tricky balance of those. But yeah, what do you think makes a good monologue and makes that theater feeling work in products?
I mean, I think the intimacy of this movie is what kind of makes it feel like theater, and just how contained it is. And the art, like the artistry, again, like the sound, the lighting, like all the set, those all felt, there's a certain craft to it that felt tangible. And then in terms of like what makes an effective monologue, I think like space, like empty space, and like and the tension, and also in this movie, I never knew what they were going to say next. And I think that really made things effective. And again, like, you know, we brought up the trivia of like, say that line 75% faster. Like there was just a cadence to the movie that had like a little bit of unpredictability and like the use of like pauses. There was a clip that went around a while ago of Andrew Scott.
Yeah,
who's doing Hamlet.
Yeah, his
his using him pausing, changing the like entire meaning and the delivery of the line and the like emotional resonance of it. And I think it's a like a craft thing. I think all of the like craft elements in the film were just set up so well, and you gave space to the actors to come in. And then again, that unpredictability just adds to that. Like you're leaning, a lot of times in movies, you're kind of leaning away. It's loud, it's like action, whatever. And this movie kind of has you lean in.
Which that definitely is like a theater thing.
Yeah.
You're kind of like towards the stage. I'm curious, when you write novels, and I forgive me for not remembering, do you usually write, like, what is your person that usually take?
First person. I write first person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're like going through interior monologues, what kind of difference do you see in that versus the like expository one?
I mean, it's interesting because like I also tell a lot instead of showing, even though like I write first person, so you're in their head. I think for me, because I write first person and because I'm like, I need to like get this exposition. If I can pull the reader into their head in a way that they believe the character's real, then I think they don't, my hope is they don't care that somebody who already knows these things is thinking about them in a way that is like, well, I grew up in this house and this is what happened when I was in this house. Nobody thinks like that. But like we think about like, yeah, when I lived here and this happened and this happened. So like if somebody's telling, I want my books to feel like somebody, like you're hanging out with a friend and they're telling you a story. And sometimes that person will be like, wait. So for context, like this is what happened. And so I think like my voice is kind of specific. So every writer, I think, kind of needs to like figure out their own voice and like what makes sense for them. But for me, like that's sort of my in and my way to be like, I'm going to give you exposition and I'm doing an internal monologue, but like I want it to feel casually compelling. So that's kind of the balance that I try and strike.
Yeah. Clay.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe too much in any hard and fast rules regarding that kind of stuff. I think the most important thing is whether the monologue belongs in the story. And I think that relies pretty heavily on the character work. And this movie is a great example of utterly justifying anything Willem Dafoe is going to spew out of his mouth by the way he talks throughout the entire movie. Like it starts with their first dinner conversation when he goes, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Aye, sir." You know, he's like, no, you need to go I to me. I'm a fucking seaman, okay? Like, you will talk to me in eyes, not... And he says ye. He never says you. One time in the entire movie, it's ye, ye, ye. He says I all the time. Like, he is through and through, like, your stereotypical, right out of the Melville novel, seaman, you know? And so when he spews like curses about Poseidon and the depths of the seas swallowing you and turning you into a pulp and you being forgotten by even the sea, and there's tears in his eyes as he's talking about how tragic it would be to be forgotten by even the sea. And like, I believe every single word he's saying. But if that were a lesser actor or a different story, it would not work. And you brought up some examples earlier. Like, there's a lot of examples. I'm not gonna like say them right now because that's not why we're here. But there's plenty of examples I can think of where a monologue feels like it's there to impart information, and that doesn't work for me if it doesn't feel like something the character genuinely would feel like they have to impart. I don't think there actually is much exposition in The Lighthouse, to be completely honest. Most of it's character work. We actually get very little exposition.
I guess there's not a lot of telling of the situation, but there is like long monologues. So that is different.
Yes.
You're right. That's different than exposition. Monologues are different than exposition.
Well,
they
and
can
it's
be
all-
the same thing, but they can be different.
In this, yes, of course. In this particular movie, it's almost all character work. Like, most of it's Willem Dafoe telling his fisherman tales. Most of it's bullshit, and he actively like contradicts himself, and even gets called out on it a time or two. Where Tom's like, "I thought you broke your leg with Catholic nuns," and he's like, "You must have heard me wrong." It's like, yeah,
Which we know that guy too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know that guy too.
Yeah,
You're
that guy's
totally-
my dad.
Yeah, that guy is Jeremy's dad. And at least me and him both know him. But yeah, the main crux of that issue to me is always whether it feels realistic to the characters and if it fits in the story. And the only time I don't like monologues is when they feel out of place, because when they do, they're glaringly out of place, because generally people don't talk like that. You and me talked about that the other day too, Travis, about how some of our favorite performances are subtle, small ones, because that's generally where people show their true emotions. It's in genuine, small, quiet moments, because we don't scream and tear our hair out and fall to our knees and call to the heavens like more than a couple times in our life, generally. Unless we have
I'm once a week. I don't
Okay,
speak
well,
for you. I'm kidding.
maybe, Rachel. I'm sorry.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't mean to project
No.
on you, Rachel.
Rachel's got it's on a schedule. It's like, oh,
yeah,
it's
I'm like,
Monday.
oh,
I gotta
it's
go.
Wednesday at 5. Yeah, I go out into the woods and get my feral scream in.
There you
Still
go.
want that.
That's the
Sounds
second half
pretty.
of the year.
Yeah.
You're in the non-screaming times
Yeah.
right now, but that's coming. That's coming. When eat, slay, replay. What's the first one?
It's Kiss Slay Replay.
Kiss, slay, replay.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to read this, but we'll have you tell us a little bit more about it later on. Anyway, that's my answer. I think I've answered your question. If I haven't, if there's a part I missed, just let me know. Otherwise, what do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Jeremy.
Well, hey, I think, and I think we've drawn attention to this. Like, if you want to take the easy way to making a monologue great, you just make Willem Dafoe do it, and you'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's gonna happen. Otherwise, you've got a lot of hard work ahead of you, because kind of like what Clay was saying, and I think Rachel was kind of getting at also, is that like the thing that makes it great is all the stuff that leads up to it, because of how monologues just straight up do not happen day to day. It's like a big crazy thing that happens when someone just decides to go off for a full minute about literally anything. So you have to take your time to make it make sense why someone would be giving this monologue. And like here in this movie, we do realistically have that. One, you do have Willem Dafoe, which is, that's playing with the cheat codes on, but you also have like Tommy's sanity and Thomas's eccentricity living in this really like heightened but grounded sort of reality where you're just kind of hanging on every word that's coming out of these guys' mouths, because for a lot of the movie the words are few and far between, so that does a little bit to explain why sometimes they just explode out. Same way with like the emotions and their interactions. They are alone, and then they're getting drunk and dancing and yelling,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that point, Jeremy, because I think that's absolutely true. Like monologues do exist in the real world, but they generally are when you've like reached some sort of breaking point or you've reached some sort of like revelation. Either way, you're extremely like enthusiastic about what you have to share and you share everything you've been thinking about it for a long time. And you see that snap happen. And sometimes like you don't know that it's about to happen. Like I didn't know it was going to happen in the Lighthouse. I got no necessary clue that Willem Dafoe's character Thomas really cared about his cooking, but he fucking does. And like,
oh shit.
When Tommy insults him all the time, but when he insults the cooking, that's the final straw. And then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna fucking
that is a
put a
bridge
curse
too
on you."
far.
Yeah.
It's like, fine, fuck, I like your cooking. Jesus.
I also love that response at the end. It's so great. Just like, have it your way. I like your lobster.
We're done with this. That line delivered by Robert Pattison. I want to talk about hopefully what is a fun question.
Better be
comeback stories, either in movies or if you can think of a real life one. Because I mean, let's talk a little bit about Robert. And not that he was all super popular, but I don't think Twilight is held up as a example of the best acting in cinema history. I've never heard anyone claim that.
Sure.
And I think they maybe would be wrong if they did. But he was a pretty boy. You know, he got Goblet of Fire. He got this like Remember Me set kind of romance film. Then he got all the Twilight movies. He was like the pretty boy, new young actor that was going to be, you know, just like Zac Efron kind of got that. And then he went into this like beautiful cocoon of indie film and like became a butterfly of, he was always this good, but like he did Good Time, he did Lost City of Z, he did High Life, The Lighthouse. And then I think the first time he like emerged back into the public was The King, where he played the French Dauphin and he was amazing. And then Tenet, The Devil All the Time on Netflix, and all of that led to him becoming the new Batman. And I just remember having the conversation with people who were like, Pattinson's Batman? And I had to be like, go watch his other stuff. Like, you won't doubt him if you go watch his last 5 movies. Like, this man knows what he's doing. He's a great actor. But yeah, I just love, because in honor of Pattison being so astoundingly good in The Lighthouse, does anyone have a favorite comeback story, either in a movie, book, or in like real life that you think is cool, that a celebrity was like written off as one thing and then made a name for themselves in a different sphere? Either one. Whoever wants to jump in first.
Well, I do love that, like, Paul Bettany, like, until he got the role as Jarvis in Iron Man 1, he was to the point of being, like, blacklisted in Hollywood and maybe never going to work again until he got this sort of VO role as just a snarky artificial intelligence. And I'm so glad that he did, because he is super cute and I could listen to his voice and fall asleep to it. Like, it's wonderful and incredible.
Yeah. And then he became the Vision, you know.
Yeah.
He went from voiceover to on camera.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, he so deserved that comeback. Just seems like such a lovely human and just such a I think underrated actor. I mean, not anymore. He won the Academy Award, but that was I'm really happy about that.
Me too. It's a great example, because when you hear his story and how all of that fucked up shit happened to him, and then he got blacklisted for being honest about it, I mean, it's just crazy. And I can still remember, because I mean, we are very much all in the Brendan Fraser hype generation of like, I remember. I mean, I love The Mummy, so obviously there was that. But aside from that, he was very much getting all the like stupid roles, like playing George of the Jungle and stuff like that.
Dudley Doolittle.
And then all of a sudden he just vanished like without a trace. And it was so bizarre because he was like on top of the world and then he was just gone. And I still remember thinking like The Mummy Returns wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't good, but I mean, he didn't have to completely disappear. And nobody had any idea. That was before like social media was anything like it is now. So we just didn't hear these things on a broad scale. And so that's a great example, Rachel. Since we're talking about Twilight, I am enjoying the like feminine rage villain arc that Kristen Stewart is on right now. I'm just like, yeah, how about fuck everything about all of you motherfuckers? I'm gonna do my own thing. Because she's been treated similarly. She's been blackballed by Hollywood at so many levels. Like people say she's hard to work with. People say all these terrible things about her on set, about her as a person, and it's just like, I don't know. None of her co-stars talk about her that way. It's always just like the rumor mill. But when you talk to Robert Pattison or anybody who worked with her really closely for a long time, everybody's like, she's fucking brilliant. And then so now she's like creating her own movies. She's directing her own shit. She's writing and producing her own shit. And she's like, taking a really active role in including women in filmmaking on all parts of the set, which is something that I love to see because it's been far too long that's been allowed to happen. So always glad for anybody who's doing that. So I think Kristen Stewart's a great example, especially since we're already on the Twilight train. People redeeming themselves.
Performance-wise, The Runaways, her turn as Joan Jett was really compelling. I was a big fan of Still Alice. She had a good role in that sad movie. Lizzie, where she played Bridget Sullivan. Underwater, I think, is one of the most underrated horror films in a while. It's not amazing, but it was good. It was really
good.
Compelling.
I liked it.
Scary, and the Cthulhu at the end is freaky looking. So she's been. Oh, and she played Diana, Princess.
Yeah,
Diana.
I still need to see that. I've heard that was really good, and she was, because I was like, "There's no way that's going to be good." I was wrong. Everyone's like, "Great."
Yeah.
So, and I will say, I feel like they were both, considering the material, Twilight. I think they are a big reason why Twilight was as successful.
Oh yeah,
successful.
Easily.
Especially the first movie. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen them, but I remember the first movie being like, this is not for like a teen movie about supernatural YA romance. Like they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Like, compelling, and there's a reason why everyone went so crazy. And I like to hear the story of Robert Pattinson saying that, like, I went in and played this character like a depressive, because I think everybody else was going in and reading Edward Cullen like this, like brooding, like like heartthrob, and he went in and been like, he hates himself, and like where he's just like, no, this guy isn't like a heartthrob. He's like the most depressive, horrible person that you could ever want to be around. And like he played him like a freak. Like if you watch the movie back, you're like, yeah, he's got his hair like coiffed up, but like he's like every role that he plays, maybe aside from Cedric Diggory, he plays like a weird little freak. And him and Daniel Radcliffe were like the Harry Potter to freak pipeline. They were just like,
oh my word,
I've
Daniel
done the
Radcliffe,
franchise, and now I'm gonna be a fucking weirdo for the rest of my life.
Yes,
Elijah Wood too.
Yeah,
all on the same career trajectory.
Oh yeah,
you can't.
Those
you
three.
Can't,
they're putting the Rad in Radcliffe. I tell you what.
You can't call Daniel Radcliffe's like a comeback story because he never went away, but like his indie stuff is so weird, and I love
it's
it.
awesome.
God, I love this story I heard about Daniel Radcliffe where he was doing a play and the paparazzi kept harassing him, so he wore the exact same outfit for like 3 months straight, so that no one could sell the photos of him because people would look at it and be like, oh, well, this is just him from that day 3 weeks ago. I can't buy this. I can't run this in the paper.
To start and end this episode with farts, Daniel Radcliffe's work in Swiss Army Man is just something to behold.
Back to the Daniels. I should have sought them out in college and been and tried to be friends with them.
All the Daniels. Every Daniels.
I also have to shout out quickly, since we're on that note, that movie, I Don't Belong in This World Anymore. I Don't Feel Comfortable in This World Anymore, whatever it's called, where Elijah Wood has the rat tail. And he's like, have you guys seen this movie?
I've heard of it, and it has
the
Melanie Wisnicki in it too.
I think it predated. I'm thinking it predated Yellow Jackets, and it's essentially like a preview to her character in Yellow Jackets. She's a very similar character in this, but Elijah Wood's character is just fucking amazing. Like, you guys have to watch it. It's hilarious. He is like, he's so bizarre, and it's just so funny. He's got a rat tail, and like, picture a dude with a rat tail who loves kung fu.
Yeah.
Now picture what that guy's
Elijah
like.
Wood is that guy.
Yeah, and then just imagine Elijah Wood playing him, and it's everything you hope you would
God,
get.
that sounds perfect.
It's so good. Give
I'm
him some
looking
throwing
at-
stars and let him go.
Looking at Radcliffe's IMDb, and I completely forgot he plays the dog walker in the Trainwreck movie, which
Yeah.
is like the best. That's the best part of that movie is his scenes as
Absolutely.
the dog walker. Anyway, that's all I have. Because I know we're coming up on 2 hours, and Rachel's in East Coast time, so I don't want to keep you up too late. But those were my four main questions.
Grandma's bedtime is soon.
It's a normal person's bedtime at 10
Yeah.
o'clock. I mean, that's
Yes, at
not
10 o'clock.
nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
Before we do, we'll do our usual rating of this film. Now, you might look at this rating system and go, this is like the Lighthouse, nonsensical and bananas and bullshit. And you'd be right. But that doesn't mean there isn't hidden beauty in there. That doesn't mean there's not something you might be able to love from it. Our rating system is that we give you however many drinks, substances, whatever you prefer to consume while watching movies do you need to enjoy the Lighthouse to the fullest extent. Now, this could be nothing, or this can be whatever bullshit Jeremy's going to come up with. Jeremy, we'll start with you because you tend to be our Dark Souls mode of the drinking games. How many drinks or whatever else do you need to enjoy the Lighthouse to the fullest extent?
You know, I'm gonna start off by saying I don't try to be the Dark Souls mode.
Yes, you do.
Of this, I don't try to. It just happens. It comes out of me naturally.
Okay, final guy.
Yeah, fine.
Take it
Thank
easy.
You, hey, be cool, everybody. Now,
put a beanie
obviously,
cap
the
on that bald head.
the easy answer. I'm gonna just walk on. I'm just gonna jog on from there. The easy answer, of course, is to drink whenever they're drinking. That'll get you really very messed up so quickly. I'm gonna sidestep that. We're not gonna do that. At least I'm not. Somebody else might. They can. It's fine. Whenever something skips from point A to point B, and you don't know how, like, what led to that, you're gonna want to take a drink of something pretty strong. I'd say either vodka or gin, or like a mix of gasoline and honey. Like, just go for it. You
Lamp
know?
oil.
Yeah, lamp oil and honey. Let's go for that. So yeah, do that, and that's going to be like once every scene, apparently, because very few things lead to the next scene.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Trav?
Live that.
Okay. You're gonna get one of those big food storage containers, the big ones, like the huge, like the big quart, several quarts guys. You're gonna fill that guy with lobster bisque. Okay. Then you're gonna pop the cork on the most bubbly drink you can think of, like a bottle of champagne or something. And
I
you're
see.
just gonna house the lobster bisque while drinking glass after glass of champagne until you're in so much pain as the movie's actually trying to cause you mentally. You're feeling that physically.
Okay.
And then you're just gonna gas out whoever lives with you in your house. That's what I'd say.
And you will not tell them that Fermented Fiction gave you this idea.
Yeah. Please don't.
Because
Yeah,
we don't
please
want
don't.
them coming for us.
Yeah, please don't. But it'll be rough.
That's pretty hardcore. I appreciate it. I would say you should go to your local automotive shop and get one of those oil pouring, whatever you would call those, one of those like oil carafes, for lack of a better word. I'm not sure what they're actually called, but you know what I'm talking about, that he carries the lamp oil with. Fill that with a mixed drink of your choice. This can be whatever you want. But while it's in that tankard, you're going to pretend it's lamp oil and gin, because I'm pretty sure that's what they're drinking, given that Willem Dafoe references gin in many of his shanty songs, including the one where they're slow dancing and he says, if birds were gin. It's so beautiful. A little love scene. So yeah, pour that. And then by the end of the movie, you should go ahead and try to finish it. I challenge you to do that. You can do this easily by drinking whenever they drink. You could also do it easily by drinking every time there is a fart joke or a sex joke. Either of those will get the job done, but that's what I recommend. That being said, you should only do this on your second watching of this film, because if you do it on the first, you're going to have a bad time. Go ahead and watch it sober the first time, just so you know what's coming, and then take on the challenge if you feel inclined to watch it a second time and empathize with the characters a bit more.
Same rule applies to the lobster bisque one.
Rachel, how about you? And then after you're done with your rating, go ahead and tell us one more time who you are, where we can find you, and what you've got coming out.
I think a hot toddy would be a good one to if you wanted to not have the worst time of your life and go lobster bisque and bubbly.
Champagne.
I think a nice hot toddy on a cloudy, foggy day.
Yeah,
watching this movie would be a real vibe. Because I want you to have a pleasant experience, unlike some people who want you to.
I feel like it adds an element of. As a psychological element of being able to be like, oh man, that weather looks like it sucks.
Yeah,
I'm warm.
Just because they're having a bad time doesn't mean we have to have a bad time. And yeah, I am Rachel Harrison, and I have 6 novels that are out now. Most recently, Play Nice. You can find it wherever books are sold, and then my next book, Kiss, Slay, Replay, is a time loop horror novel that takes place at a wedding, and it's out on September 8th. Yeah. 8th.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah. So if you like time loops and if you like horror and you don't like weddings, then pick it up. Or if you do like weddings, depends. Yeah.
Yeah. You like them so much you want to relive them.
Yes.
Again
over
and
and
again
over
and
again.
again.
Yeah.
Excellent. Can't wait for the new novel, Rachel. I'm all caught up. I have read the last 3 because I started a little late, but I am a huge fan of Black Sheep. I really like So Thirsty, so I can't wait for this one. It's going to be a really good time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Rachel, especially, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. And we'll see you at StokerCon. You're the guest of honor. We're super stoked about that. We're looking forward to chatting with you there and seeing you on some cool panels. And everybody else who loves horror, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, come to StokerCon. Meet Rachel in person. She's there as the guest of honor. It's going to be really sweet. And there's lots of other awesome horror people there. Pretty much the whole genre shows up except for Stephen King. So it's a really good time. You should come check it out. Keep checking out Fermented Fiction. We've been Jeremy, Travis, and Clay. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.